Hello, everyone. We appreciate everyone being here, and we'd like to call to order our Monday, August the 8th work session for Loganville City Council. And with that, we will ask for a motion, or either ask for additions and subtractions to the agenda, or a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
I don't know if I do this now or do it later. I would like to ask if we could table the zoning amendment section to the retreat. My reason is, one, Linda's not here, that's her committee, but also, just so you know, we have a long agenda tonight, and I'll be going line by line through the PUV, which will add a great length of time. And since it is directly related to development, I would just ask if we could table that to the retreat.
Interesting question, and I would answer it this way. I was going to ask at least that it be tabled for tonight, because Linda has had a death in the family, is not here tonight, and also Tim is not here tonight.
Mayor, it's been advertised. Once it's set, we have to have that meeting.
So we were going to move it.
Robin's on the way. Let's get her. I'm almost positive. Once it's advertised, you cannot change the date. But let's ask Robin if we can come back into that, or maybe hit the other committees first.
Move it to Thursday, and have discussion and vote on Thursday.
You can possibly table it on Thursday, but you're going to have to wait
Could
for
we
the
be?
meeting on Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm just not familiar with protocol, that's why I
That's
was
okay. That's
asking.
great. I don't know that any of us are when it gets that deep. So is that okay? Does it have a motion to take it off the agenda for tonight, or we need to discuss it tonight?
We need to wait on.
Okay.
You still need to discuss it.
I hate it when Danny brings the attorney involved. Be out here about midnight. Okay. And Robin's on her way?
She is.
Can we come back to that? Okay. Can we have a motion to accept the agenda, since we can't change it in this regard?
You don't have to do that.
Yeah, the agenda's not set till Thursday night, so
Okay.
you just got to call the meeting to order and then go to the agenda. And then Thursday, once you call the meeting to order, and then you ask for the adoption of the agenda.
Okay.
But the agenda's not set till Thursday.
Then we'll move right along to the Finance Human Resources Committee report. Ann Hunsinger?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one thing on my agenda. It is about the fiber installation project. It's in your packet. Kyle sent over the information to us. We want to approve a proposed fiber network installation, enables common use internet connection, et cetera. Total use is 67,137, with the 20% of not to exceed 80,600. It increases our up and download speed. If anybody has any questions for Kyle, I know he's here to answer them. But if nobody has any questions, anybody have any questions?
Well, the only question I have is, are we doing this work in-house, or is this a quote from somebody? Is this quote a company that's going to come out and
I believe we're
install
doing
that?
it. I think we're doing it. I'm gonna let Kyle.
I actually quoted 3 different companies. The project is 100% turnkey from another company, except for a very small portion where I connect all the lines together. We actually did a mixed project once before in 2019. It connected utilities to City Hall. It's a whole lot smoother to pay someone to do the entire project. For the cost savings we had doing a small portion ourselves, it's well worth paying someone. Plus, you take other employees out of the field to do this
Yeah,
project.
and so you did get you got 3.
There are 2 other quotes. They're on here, and they were astronomically higher than the
Okay.
contractor we chose. So.
Okay, thank you.
Does this wrap up the fiber expenses for the time being anyway? Oh,
Well, it's budgeted for the fiscal year. There's ongoing maintenance expenses, but if you're talking about like infrastructure installation and stuff, this connects the 2 major properties that we have that have a large portion of computer infrastructure out. So.
okay.
This is just to connect the police department and the fire station at Tom Brewer to the city server at this location.
And the other 2 quotes are on the spreadsheet in your packet. If anybody has any questions about that.
A lot higher.
Much higher.
If nobody has any questions, would anybody object to putting it on consent?
Consent agenda, everyone?
Okay with you? Melanie, okay with you? Okay.
Jay, you okay with that?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay. Then, Mr. Mayor, I have nothing else. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
That takes care of finance, human resources, and that fiber installation project will be on consent agenda for Thursday. Thank you, Ann. We'll move to Public Safety Committee. Jay Boland.
Thank you, Mayor. So, you've been on council a long time and public safety chairman when you're on round 2 of body cameras. And so I'd like to call Chief Lowry up so we can go over this together. This is a Walton County SPOS in the amount of $405,509. Ultimately, I'd like to see it on the consent agenda, but first, a couple things. We are the 28th Police Department to make this change. Is that correct? Chief
In
Lowry?
Georgia,
In Georgia.
right, as of last week. It
We
may
had,
be more now.
6 or 7 years ago we did this?
We did, we first implemented body cameras, I had to ask Greg, it was July, 7 years ago.
7 years, yep. Okay. And then, as we all can imagine, the tech advancements we've made in 7 years is light years. We have a plan for the refurbished ones. You want to touch on that real quick?
Yes, our plan, and Dan and I talked about this, and I actually talked with Chief Johnson, Fire Department, this morning about it. Our plan with both the in-car and body cameras, the newest body cameras that we have, I believe we have 3 that are still within warranty. Isn't that 3, right? We're going to retain those for our detectives to use if they need them. They don't wear them day in and day out, but there are certain situations where they might need to do that. So we're going to retain those. The others and the in-car systems that will be replaced will be repurposed within the city primarily for other public safety vehicles, which is primarily the fire department and any others that Mr. Roberts may want them installed.
And the reason for this change is, well, I guess I'll let you
Well,
tackle
it's-
that one because
okay.
you got a lot to say about that.
Well, so the very gist of it is this. Our current system is WatchGuard, both our body cameras and our in-car cameras. What we have run into in the last little while, they were bought out by a much larger corporation. That much larger corporation also has a body camera and in-car product, which in all of our opinions doesn't meet our needs or the needs really of anybody else. It's a substandard product, quite honestly. Since that buyout has taken place, just some of the things that we have run into, we actually canceled an order that was approved by the council under SPLOST on these 3 patrol vehicles that we're still waiting delivery on because we received almost all of the other equipment, and when Assistant Chief Ornack contacted him, they wouldn't give him any anticipated delivery date. Not a month, not 6 months, not a year. Just basically don't know. That really doesn't work for us or for anybody else. If it's, we understand there's all these chip delays and all those types of things, but in addition to that, the last 2 systems from this company that were delivered to us, when they got ready to install them over at Fleet Maintenance, they found that one of the most critical components, which is a way to mount it in the vehicle, was not included in either one of those packages. And it took us 3 months, 4 months to get those, to get them to respond. Without that mounting equipment and plate, the only way that you could possibly use that camera is the officer drive with his left hand and hold the camera up out the front windshield with their right, which doesn't work. It's not only been on our end as far as getting equipment, and this applies both with body cameras and with the in-car cameras. Kyle has also, because he manages the software side of it, the downloads and the storage and all those things, and when we have had issues with the guys being able to upload these videos, which they have to do every day, and the system wouldn't work, he has struggled with the same thing, even getting anybody to return a phone call, an email, or whatever it may be. This is too important a function in today's times, that just doesn't work anymore. We have to have reliable body cameras and reliable in-car cameras. There's no way around it. So we have looked at Axon actually for some time. And to be perfectly honest, the only thing that held it back was it's expensive, as you can well see. But comparing the two products is like comparing a worn-out pickup truck to a Corvette. It's truly that much better. The features that are available, and two that I really think are critical, particularly in today's times. The Axon body cameras, if an officer activates a Taser 7, which is the model that we currently use, within 25 feet of one of these cameras, it doesn't matter who the camera, what agency that camera belongs to, the Taser will activate all the body cameras within 25 feet. It also has a very small, almost, I guess you would call it a micro switch that mounts onto the patrol officer's duty holsters for their firearms. And if they draw their firearm, it automatically turns on the body camera. That's a very critical thing nowadays too. Another feature as far as the activation, currently all of our, and pretty much any in-car video system, is activated anytime the blue lights in the car are activated. This system does not only the in-car camera, but also the body camera at the same time. And because of the design of it, these guys have the ability to charge the body camera in the car while it's still on their body. They don't have to come in and put it in a charger or charge it at home or anything. They can charge it while they're working. One of the most critical aspects of this entire project is bringing everything under the Axon umbrella allows us in data storage to store it all in one place, so to speak. So if we had, let's say, for example, there was a burglary at somebody's home. Well, we're going to have in-car cameras. We're going to have body cameras while they're talking to the victims. If we develop a suspect or suspects, then we're going to bring those people in and interview them in our interview room. All of that now can be linked into one place. The way that that's going to work is the district attorney's offices for both Walton and Gwinnett County will have their own logins. This is what they already have with agencies that are already using this. They cannot manipulate anything. They can't change anything. All they can do is view. So if we give them access to this one particular case, which you have to do it case by case, then they can then pull it up and do whatever they want to do with that video. If they need to save it for trial or any of that, that is going to eliminate for us duplicating or emailing, or there's several different ways we have to do it, almost 200 open records requests per month for this footage. That's a significant impact for our folks. We've also elected on the body cameras and the in-car cameras. Axon offers a program, of course you got to have acronyms when you're dealing with the police, that they call TAP, T-A-P, which is their Technology Assurance Program. I think that is really one of the biggest selling points of this system. Under the TAP program, on the body camera side, at 2.5 years, we get all new cameras, all new charging stations at no additional cost. At the 5-year mark, we also get that. New body cameras, new charging stations, and whatever else may be included in that. On the in-car systems, that only happens at the 5-year mark. But you gotta understand, those are not exposed to the weather and all the things like the body cameras are. What that would do on the body cameras, when those are replaced at the 5-year mark, they generally have a recommended service life for most things in law enforcement is roughly 5 years because of the abuse that it gets under the environments that we work in. And to be perfectly honest with you, if they replace them at the 5-year mark and we don't have to come back to this conversation until 5 years after that. Somebody else will probably be presenting the solution to that problem to you at that time. I think that it takes us so many years, potentially in the future with new equipment, is worth the additional cost of the TAP program. The third part of this overall system, which was the last thing that we did, we created after the health department moved out on the second floor at the building that we're in. We converted part of that space into additional evidence storage. We also, was a room that was already available there that already had magnetic locks. I think it's where they stored vaccines and things like that, that we just did it ourselves and converted that into an interview room. Well, right now, we're basically using a camcorder on a tripod to do interviews. That's not a best practice by any means. This will also be an Axon product. It has both an overt and a covert camera that'll record from 2 different angles. The audio quality, the video quality is significantly better than doing it on a camcorder. It can be remotely activated from a pad that'll be outside the door. And the way that the system works, any other police department detective or Greg or I or anybody else that we give access to can monitor that interview live from our desktop computers, which we do not have the ability to do now. Axon right now they are by large margins the leader of the pack in technology, and Kyle ended up, I think, a little bit against his will maybe to start with, but once he saw what we were trying to do, this is something we've all been working on for some time, and I think Kyle will attest as far as the technology and the ease of what this is going to do, not only for the police department, because of the way these videos are going to be stored, it is going to alleviate a significant amount of data from servers here at City Hall, and it's going to streamline his day-to-day in managing our systems quite a bit from what the amount of time he's having to put in now. And I'll be glad to answer.
And then the Axon will go, they're going to put them in, right?
Yes, on the body cameras we will get first. They're on about a 30 to 45 day delivery. The interview room would be second, because it's not that they're having procurement problems, but there are so many agencies switching. The in-cars are 6 months, give or take, out on delivery. But yes, we will take out the current systems, and Axon will come to our shop, our fleet maintenance, and they will do all the installs. So we know they're factory installed. They're going to train our fleet people, because, you know, as we replace cars, they'll have to be moved from time to time, and that'll be directly from the people that make them. And the same thing will be true on the interview room system. We do a little bit of prep work. Kyle's already made several contacts back and forth with their technology people, and we have a little bit of prep work to do, and then they'll do all the install, train us. Everything is included in the price that you see.
Thank you, Chief. Members of council, Mayor, in our packet is a list of some of the features that he may have not touched on. Chief, our current cameras we're still good, but we're just continuing to be proactive and getting ahead of it.
We're good as of tonight.
Right.
But if we lose a body camera or more, we don't have replacements.
Gotcha.
And we can't, right this minute, it would be, I don't even know that we can get replacements. We cannot get new cameras to put in the new cars that we've got on the way right now.
Okay. All righty, I'll turn it over to the members of council for any questions you may have.
Chief, you said that one of the benefits is that it'll take the data management off of us, so they store all the interviews and stuff in the cloud?
Yes, ma'am. It's
All right,
cloud-based.
so if they do that, does it tie us to them forever? Like if we wanted to change contracts?
Like if we went to something else, no. Look, even with the the current system, and Kyle may be able to answer this better, but even with our current system with WatchGuard, we're gonna have to maintain that software to meet the needs of the state records retention for those
Requirements.
videos. We won't be able to cancel that
Okay.
that software until the last video that's on there hits that record retention, or if we have some that we have to maintain longer because of a pending case, a significant case at trial, something like that. It will, you know, we don't have to keep videos as long as we once did. It was, initially when we started, it was 5 years. It's significantly less than that now. And there will be, as we repurpose these cameras, now certainly they won't use the amount of storage or create the number of videos that we do, just by sheer call volume, and every officer has one, so
Right.
every time, if you got 4 guys on the call, that's 4 body cams running and in-cars running. So that storage will be smaller, but if we did go to a different product in 5 years, if something that's not available today became
Right.
available, it's our data. Now, we'd have to have a way to store it. You know, it might be that Kyle would have to create a server for it or whatever it might be.
But we can get it.
But yes, it's our
Okay.
data. Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And the big thing for me is, a few years ago, we did the in-car computers and technological advances there. This just makes everything more efficient. Would you agree?
It does, and I think all y'all know, I'm not really a technology guy, so to speak. And I don't believe in technology just for technology's sake. And honestly, there's things that are available that we didn't include because I don't think we really need it. It might be for some larger agencies might need it, but we really don't need it, at least right now. I think this is, particularly in today's times, reliable recordings of the officers' activities for transparency's sake, for recording what they do. You really just can't operate a police department without these capabilities today. You just can't. And it's not only for the protection of the officers in the field, but also liability protection for us at the police department and the city as a whole, that we've got the best possible systems for doing this right now.
Chief Lowry, I
Yes,
got a
ma'am.
friend that's actually in this industry,
Yes,
so
ma'am. Mm-hmm.
I called and talked to him, and he had a couple of questions that
Okay.
I really didn't see in the information, or maybe I overlooked it.
Okay.
He wants to know, is Axon, is there going to be a possibility of there being a recurring cost for cloud storage? In other words,
No, not for a 5-year period. All of that is included in this. Now, after that, if we renewed with them or whatever we did, then there would be. But everything that we would have to have as part of this technology assurance plan is included by going with the TAP. All of that
Okay.
is covered for 5.
another question, he want to know, do they know how long the batteries actually, like your cell
Like
phone?
on the
yeah.
in-car? Well,
Not the hours
or
of the
the-
service, but I'm like,
the
how many
body
times can you,
cameras?
and is that replaceable, and is it covered under the warranty?
Well, the battery in these particular ones, it's just like a taser. It's a sealed battery. But if we had one that stopped working for whatever reason, because of this technology assurance plan, then we contact them. They're under full warranty, and they will actually ship one before you return the one that's
Okay.
not working. Now, as far as how long that battery lasts per day, they're telling us, a lot depends, Ms. Long, how active the officer is. One of our guys that does a lot more traffic enforcement than maybe one of the lieutenants, his may not go a full 12-hour shift. But now, instead of having to what they have to do today with the current system is come in and dock it, which they can download and charge all at the same time. And then if they have to go back out in the field, they don't have it. With this system, it's basically a USB type cord. While it's on there, they can plug it in and then pull it out when they get out of the car. So they'll never be in the field without it.
Right, because that was one of his questions.
ma'am.
Will it go a full shift charge?
Yes, ma'am.
But you
But
answered.
it's
I
not-
said that
they
was
have
in
the
here that
ability to
it
charge
can
it in
plug
the
in.
car. Yes, ma'am.
And he wanted to know the cameras that, you're keeping some to go into
Yes.
other things.
Yes.
And he wanted to know, does Axon, because he said you'd be surprised, a lot of these companies offer trade-in programs. Is there a
I asked
trade-in
that.
program?
No.
Okay.
They did give us trade-in on their products, if it's been a few months back, or maybe longer than that, when we did the TASER upgrade. They did give us trade-in value on those, but those are Axon products. They don't, and I did ask if that was even a possibility, but because it's another competitor's product, and they can't get parts for it either, they don't think they can do anything with it, so they don't.
And can you tell me, out of the $405,509, how much of that is the TAP, that
Yes,
fee? How
ma'am.
much of that money
Sure.
is that fee? Because I know it's probably in here, but,
It is, but they do it so big, it's hard to. All right, the TAP bundle, total is $36,960.
okay, thank you. That was all my questions.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you, Chief Lowry.
Anybody else have any questions?
So I like the fact that you said that you can, that the DAs in Walton and Gwinnett have
Yes.
access to it.
Yes.
You said other agencies are using a system. Who's using it around here?
This particular system, well, right now, Monroe Police Department, Snellville Police Department, Walton County Sheriff's Office met with them last week. Swanee, Lawrenceville, Johns Creek, Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office. You know what the PD has here? Do they have Axon? I don't know about Gwinnett County Police Department, but a whole lot of them, sir.
And so I assume that by knowing all these, you've got some level of comfort from
Yes.
what their
Well,
Their view
yes,
of it
sir.
is?
It just, the agency that went to them the most recently with the same thing that we're looking at is Johns Creek, and the chief in Johns Creek is a nearly 30-year friend of mine that we kind of came up together in law enforcement, and I contacted Chief Mitchell, and he raved and raved. I spoke to his lieutenant there, and I'm drawing a blank on his last name, but he manages their program for them. And they were going from an older Axon product into this, and he said even from that, it's far and away better. So they were very impressed with it.
Okay. And then, I mean, Axon's from Arizona.
Yes, sir.
You said that they'll come here and install and reinstall into vehicles. I mean, do they have like service reps in the area?
They've got regional people
Okay.
that do it, yeah, in each region, yes, sir.
Sure. And then I'm curious about the open records request. Can you restate that again? How does this help benefit?
Well, so right now, we average almost 500 open records requests every month. Roughly 200 of those open records requests are for either body cam videos or in-car videos, camera footage. So on some of the videos and the most up-to-date ones, our open records clerk, Debbie Greer, can email a expiring link to the attorney, the district attorney's office, whoever it may be. And then they can open it. If they want to record it, they can put it on a DVD or save it to their desktop, whatever they want to do with it. A lot of those are for the public defenders and the district attorney's offices for both Walton and Gwinnett. So by giving them access to do that, all they need is the case number. So I think, I mean, I'm having to estimate, Mr. Ball, but at a minimum, I think it will reduce at least 70 to 75% of the number that we're physically going to have to be involved. Now, we will have to do some, because we do get some from private attorneys, and we're not going to give them that kind of access. We'll have to make a copy or send, and it has the ability to send the expiring links and all that kind of thing, just like we have now.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
The training, how intensive is the training, and do they come and train in person?
Yes, they will train for example, on the interview room system. Once it's up and running, then they'll meet with primarily the detectives are gonna use that. But the detectives, me, Greg, anybody else that we wanna do it, they'll walk you through the whole thing. It's probably a roughly 1 day training. But they have a, 24/7 help desk and things like, which most products for law enforcement have something along those lines. On the installs for, the in-car cameras, with those technicians there, for the number that we're talking about, what they're anticipating doing is sending us 3 guys who will both be installing side by side with our people that do that now. So they see exactly how they're doing it. And they think they can turn every car that we have that has that in 2.5 to 3 days. So less than a week that we would be doing. We'll have to schedule that based on shift rotations and things like that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I've got just a quick question for
Yes, sir.
Robin. With all these commitments for 5 years in the future, where do we stand if something happens to one of these companies? I know they're big, and they're in 1,800 police agencies. I just don't know the answer.
Well, if something was to happen to that company, then your obligation would cease if they could no longer provide the thing that they've contracted to provide. There should be also a termination provision in the agreement that the city would have the ability to terminate whatever agreement if needed.
And the funds that we're paying for that 5-year swap now, as part of the package?
There
We could-
should be, is that agreement in the packet, Chief? Okay.
Let me see, Rob. Honestly, I don't. I think what I've got is the quote. I may not have it in here, but I can get that.
I see a summary of it
Yeah, I think that's all I see.
and a quote. Mayor, how about I get with Chief Lowry between now and Thursday and take a look at whatever agreement that they're gonna propose?
And it's really not about just this discussion. We do a lot of things that we have companies that commit for us in the sewer plant business and those kinds of things too.
And again, that you all cannot be bound to a contract and continue to have to perform under any kind of agreement if you're not getting the services in return. That would apply to any agreement that you have in the city.
And then we'd have to go to bankruptcy court, I guess, at some point in time and ask for those funds back.
Well, yes, you would have to initiate some sort of action to recover the funds that you've already paid if you haven't gotten the product or service for which you negotiated. That may not be in bankruptcy court, might be in a different format.
But again, this is,
And Mr. Mayor, and obviously, I don't know what their financial status is. I can tell you that anybody, not just in the United States, but any police agent in the world that is carrying a taser gets it directly from Axon. There's no buying it from anywhere. It's their 100%.
yeah, I know
their product, so
they work with
they're not gonna go away.
18,000 agencies in the world.
Yeah.
And probably unlikely, but I was asking the question
I
not
understand.
just for this situation.
Yes,
but
sir, I understand.
It's just hard to see somebody make that kind of commitment 5 years in the future.
So, Robin, would we have to
Yes.
wait and not put it on consent agenda because we gotta wait on the contract? Or,
You could put it on the consent agenda and vote to approve it, subject to my negotiation of the contract. That's how we do it a lot of times. If there's a question about the agreement, or if we don't have the full agreement. Now, it looks like we have parts of it, but it's,
I think I left it out, not intentionally, but it's pretty thick, and I believe I may have left parts of it out.
That's okay. So you want to make a motion that we approve it with the condition that the contract's satisfactory? Is that what you're saying?
Sure,
contingent upon the acceptable negotiation of the contract.
sure. Sounds good.
And I'm sure it will be,
Yeah.
Chief.
Sure. Okay.
Other council members, you okay with that? Consent? Okay.
That's all I have for you tonight, sir.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Okay, we'll go to Public Utilities Transportation. Chairman Bill Duvall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's see. So first up is the renewal for the Cartograph software license. It's asset management software. It's used across 5 departments. This renewal fee is $12,210. And that's about all I have on that one. Questions?
Is this something we do yearly, Bill?
Annual, yes.
Okay.
And it's budgeted. So with that, I'd like to put that on consent.
Everybody okay? Okay.
All right. The second, I got to go through all 5 invoices. The second's for the SCADA. The SCADA is what communicates with all of the water, sewer, and it's a fail-safe system. When something happens, it notifies Brandon's folks that there's an issue. We don't want to have issues. This is, did I just skip over that one? Hold on a second. I did. I went too fast, but I'm on the SCADA. So this is going to retrofit 22 sewer pump stations and booster station, 2 valve stations, and 2 water tanks. This is a budgeted item, and it is $50,000 for the upgrade. It controls wirelessly, so it's on the L3G system. It's going to go to 5G, and the original system was put in the 90s. So again, this is a budgeted item. Any questions? I'd like to put this one on consent.
Consent, everyone?
All right, thank you. All right. So at the septic hauler dump station, there's the concrete is deteriorated. It's cracked. We need to replace it. It's about 2,100 square feet. The city, what the city put together a quote is to using city labor and also a company that we've gotten concrete from, Southern Concrete and Finishing. The city's going to remove the concrete. They're going to dig out and replace new base material, and then Southern Concrete and Finishing is going to come back in and place the concrete. And what we have is a bid for $33,852.50 for the concrete for this work.
Bill, I noticed that this quote expired on July 31st. Are they still going to honor this price?
Yes. And when we approve it Thursday night, y'all are going to start. You said it's only going to take a couple of days to do it, right?
Yeah, we're gonna start the week after next week. The reason it expired, this was coming before y'all last month, but I know how we like to have engineers sign off on it, so this has been signed off by Cackenwood. That's what's the delay. So yes, but I talked to the owner of Southern Concrete, Brandon, Friday we talked to him, and he was good with it.
These are the same people that did the fire department. Good.
Hey, Bill, I think it's just $2, but the agenda amount is $2 less. And since it's less the wrong way, we might want to just fix that. But I'm good with consent.
It's good. Consent. Plus $2. All right, so the next one, all right, so the next one, and Brandon's probably going to need to come up on talking about this one. So what we're proposing is to replace an old camera system that's used to service or inspect our sewer and stormwater pipes. This system's roughly 10 years old, and Brandon probably need to come on up and talk about it. There's two different cameras that we're trying to replace.
Mayor and council. Yeah, the one that we have now is, both of them that we have is currently out of commission. They don't work. They're about 10 years old. One is for smaller sewer lines, for like residential, 6 inches or smaller. And then the other one, the Aries one that we're looking to purchase, it'll do 8-inch or larger. But we are required to do 20% of our system every year. And we really need these camera systems. The one we have now is, like I said, it's out of commission. We put about 20,000 in it about 2 years ago, and it's already, something else is already broken on, and it's just harsh conditions that those camera systems are in, and they take a beating from being inside the sewage lines and in that type of environment.
And so, now there's two different, so you've got stormwater that you have to inventory. And what's the
Yep.
frequency on that? Is it 20% as well?
Yeah. Mhm.
So
Yes, sir.
you have to inventory your stormwater system every 5 years,
Yeah,
But you're-
20% a year.
20% a year.
Mhm.
And, but with the sewer system, it's the same requirement, or how?
20%.
And that's a requirement as well.
Mhm.
So basically, like he said, every 5 years, we've inspected 100% of our sewer every 5 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And who does this work?
We do. We do it in-house.
Okay, but you got a person that does it, how often, I mean,
Yeah, we have a crew, our sewer department does it. We have a couple guys that we have on it pretty much, well, when our camera system's working, it's pretty much every day. We have somebody out there to be able to get that 20% done by the end of
Right.
the year.
They're lucky individuals.
I would assume in 10 years, it's a much improved camera. Is that true, or?
Yeah, they've definitely advanced over the years. I haven't personally looked at them, but Joe, I think Joe may have, and Travis Tony, they demoed 3 or 4 units, and this is the best one that they found. And yes, the technology has advanced, and it's gotten a lot more user-friendly as well, so.
Is there special training that will be need?
Yeah, they'll come in, and if we buy the system from them, they'll have somebody come out and train us.
But is it the same couple of our guys, the same guys do this? Are there, in other words, there's not a bunch of people using it, we have a couple of guys specifically?
Just 2. We don't like a lot of
Right.
hands on it. We just
Okay.
usually got one small little crew that uses that equipment.
so the two pieces of equipment, that the quote that we have, there's total cost is $103,516.85. Are there any other questions? And this is budgeted. We'd like to put this on consent.
Okay, on consent?
All right, and rolling down, so not in your agenda, we made some modifications a little bit to the letter. So you all recall that, well, obviously with the State Route 20 project, we provided a letter of support for the project, but we're also in support of working hand in hand with GDOT to relocate Tommy Lee Fuller and then the access to Publix as well, or so the GDOT came back on the 1st and had a meeting with the city to discuss it further, and they wanted clarification, not clarification, they wanted another letter of support. So the city drafted this letter. I just want to point out that, what we're trying to say is, we recognize the importance of State Route 20 widening it's really very critical to get that work underway and improve traffic for us. But also in our eyes, it's critical to the success of that project to relocate Tommy Lee Fuller. And so that's what we've said in here. Danny, was there any, we didn't have any concern as far as there was,
No, they had me and Robbie's been working on this project 9 months now. They keep coming back and moving the post for us about the red light. So we're trying to get a red light, as you all know it. when they do the new expansion for 20. Essentially, if we don't put the red light here, you'll have no access on Highway 20 other than coming off of 78. So they wanted to see the new PM, our project manager for this project, wanted to see a more commitment from the city saying that we have the funding to do this. We have verbally told them that you all have given me permission to make this our #1 project. It was our #1 project that we listed in the KCI study, and we kind of put that in language that we are fully committed to the funding of this project as long as we get a red light. Without a red light, we're not doing, there's no need, in my opinion, to do this. Because you will not make a left turn on the Highway 20 from that side of Loganville. So, they want to see this letter where it states that we have the funding and we're not going to delay the project. My goal is to use the same contractor that the state uses and pay them separate. And we're saying that the red light, anything in the right-of-way of Georgia 20 would be the responsibility of GDOT. Anything on the outside of that, which includes right-of-way acquisition, will be on the cities.
So the other thing I was wanting, maybe you thought differently of this. I was wanting to add a copy of the board member, our transportation board member.
I spoke with Robbie about that. When we send it, we'll copy the member of this area or all of the board members.
No, so we've got 3 board members that make up our city. Mr. Boswell covers Walton County, most of the Walton County part. Rudy Bowen comes in from the top, and then Mr. Brown comes in the Gwinnett side. But for this project, it would be Mr. Boswell. But also, we probably want to
Copy District 1.
Well, I think we're okay. Probably Kelvin Mullins from District
Okay.
1, and we might want to copy. That's good enough, I think. I mean,
Okay.
Mr. Boswell reports to the whole
Yep.
congressional district, so.
Once y'all give the mayor to approve it, we'll send it Friday if it's so approved.
Any questions or comments on the letter? Or we reaffirm that we want this project.
Can we send a copy to Brian Kemp also?
Sure.
Maybe he'll help us pay for it.
All right.
Be nice.
If y'all tell me to, I will.
Do we need to vote on this?
We will Thursday.
You'll need to give the mayor authority to sign it on behalf of the city.
All right.
I'm
We'll
going
do
to ask
that.
for the consent as well.
We'll put it on the agenda for Thursday.
Mhm.
And with that, that's all I have.
You sure?
Regular agenda.
Well, you got it. Okay. Thank you, Bill. We'll move to Public Works and Facilities Committee. Melanie Long.
I have nothing tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, Melanie. And we'll move now to Economic Development Committee. Brandon Whitfield.
I don't have anything other than the retreat on the 20th. Just wanted to let everybody know about that. We're having a development retreat, economic development retreat on the 20th. I don't know if we want to discuss times or anything later on, or if we were.
We'll get all that information out. We have decided that we're going to have it in Loganville, mainly because we looked at a lot of cities, and they're all different from us. Either they're smaller or they're a lot bigger. We also have a couple of firms that could possibly help us with our planning, that we're going to have not a presentation from them, but they're going to send us their information so we can discuss it among ourselves. And it's hopeful and possible that we'll have our downtown director for that meeting. Is that still possible?
I might have an update.
Okay, have an update. We were hoping. So we'll see how that all goes.
And I would like to request that we have that on YouTube, and it's not just for the citizens, but I myself personally refer back. I go back and watch a lot of our meetings because I forget who said what. So I know Danny said that I needed to find support here, so I'm asking if any council members would agree with me that we would like this meeting to be, if not on YouTube Live, at least filmed and downloaded later.
No, we will do it here, but I said if we do it elsewhere, I would need the council to tell me because I will have to pay someone to come and film it.
Right.
Here, I
We already
believe
planned
it's
to do it.
standard,
Okay,
but
thank you.
outside of here, you all would need to tell me yes or no.
Because outside of here, it gets expensive, I would assume.
Well, I mean, Kyle would just have to, I mean, we could use a camera, like Melanie said, we could use a phone, but we'd have to bring another person to do it. But here, well, we'll still have to bring somebody here because I can't run it and be up here at the same time. But it's a lot easier here because we have the software and the cameras to do it.
And we videoed the last retreat.
I believe we did.
We did, yeah, we did. Okay. Okay,
But
anything
we
else,
encourage you to
Tom?
come too, to the meeting. We like to see the faces.
Are we gonna do it like we did last time with the table out front, or?
That's all been discussed now, and more than
Okay.
likely, yes.
Okay.
Just so we can get the materials discussed and presented.
Good deal.
Marco.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Brandon. We'll move now to the city manager's report. Danny Roberts.
Thank you, Mayor. Two things I have, actually three. We have a resolution that we'll ask you to sign. This should have been done last month, but the city manager forgot to have it on there, so that's my fault. But we have a resolution in front of you, and the mayor will need authority to sign that resolution on behalf of y'all. We did appoint Lisa Newberry to the LDA, so this just confirms it through a motion, through a resolution. I would ask that to be on consent.
Everybody okay with that?
The one-
Since
the one-
she's already been sworn in.
Yeah, the one you gave us is dated today. Is that what you want?
Yes, it would be signed. Oh, yeah, I got the 8th stuck in my mind. It'll be, yeah, I'll change that to Thursday. But we left the date up top because that's when y'all appointed her on the 14th of July.
Yep.
Okay,
Any questions on that?
consent. Consent? Okay.
And I also sent y'all, I believe, a text message about need your nominations. At least I'd like to have them by next month, council meeting for ethics. All positions are up. As you know, the mayor has 3 picks and each council member has 1. So the requirements to be on that are on MuniCode. You can look at that as well. And those are 2-year terms. It's the only 2-year terms that we have of the 3 boards. So just think about that and let me know we can say that. Do we need to do a resolution on that as well? Okay, we'll have a resolution once I have the names that we all can.
And our nominees cannot be anybody serving on any current,
That's correct.
okay.
Current City of Loganville Committee. That is the Planning and Zoning, the Loganville Development Authority, City Council, or Ethics. Any questions on that?
Then if someone should go into one of those other committees, they would have to resign from the ethics committee at that point.
Or vice versa, yes.
Yeah, vice versa. Okay.
And then we had a Development Authority member resign last month, and that opens a spot. So I'll need y'all's approval Thursday to open it back up for 30 days, I would say. I believe they have 6 members, so they can have a quorum, they can still meet, but there is 1 position open up due to resignation. So give me authority to open that up on, I guess, Friday morning. We'll run it for 30 days. And then,
Okay.
would you like to have a called meeting based on the applicants, or have it at the regular council meeting? Typically, we do called meetings for those.
Personally, I would prefer a call meeting to focus on it, depending on how many applications you have.
Well, you can think about that Thursday and just let me know what y'all's direction is.
Well, I mean, September, we don't have a work session. We only have a meeting, so that might stack that meeting up a lot if we don't
Well,
do a call.
yeah, it wouldn't be by September anyway.
It wouldn't be, okay.
Yeah, because 30 days would put us past the council for September. So I'd imagine have it before October, by October. That's all I have.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Danny. And now that we're having a city attorney back at our meetings again on a regular basis, hopefully. Robert, city attorney's report.
I have nothing actionable this month. Thank you for your patience. The traffic getting here in the storm was a little more challenging than usual.
Understand that. School's back in too. Makes a difference. Thank you, Robin. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any other things that we need to discuss tonight?
You go back to planning.
We were gonna ask your opinion, Robin, on the first
Just
item on the
generally.
Huh? On the first item.
Thank you. I understand that you all tabled that, waiting for me to get here. I appreciate that. And I understand there was a request to table this and for a month, is that right?
No, until the retreat is a week from Saturday. I think that the PUV is directly related to development. I'm going to want to go line by line with Tim and my fellow council members. This is a very important document. The implications for this document, I mean, we realize there's a huge project coming, that's why we're doing this. That means it'll be the biggest development in Loganville's history. And we have one chance to get this right, and I don't want to feel rushed to do that. And I believe that the retreat would give us the time, the resources. It's an official meeting. I would just like to table discussing the PUV until the retreat.
That is certainly the prerogative of the council. If that's what you all wish to do, that is certainly something you can consider. You can't vote on whether to do that until Thursday night, and because this has been advertised as a public hearing, I suggest that you go on and hold the public hearing. In the event that the council does not agree to table it, they wouldn't be able to pass it without conducting the public hearing tonight. Does that make sense? The zoning procedure law is very, very technical.
Okay, so you want me to read all my notes in tonight and then do it again Thursday when Tim's here?
Well, you can conduct the public hearing, which means that you all discuss it, you can ask for commentary from the citizens and the public tonight. I don't know what notes you have. It's a public hearing like any other zoning decision. For instance, when the council is asked to vote on a property owner's application for a rezoning, Tim gives his presentation, you all discuss it, you open it up and ask for anyone who's for or opposed that rezoning to speak, and that constitutes the public hearing. The zoning procedures law requires 2 public hearings. You'll have one in front of the planning commission, which I believe has already occurred, and then the one tonight. If it weren't a zoning matter, I would tell you, yeah, sure, push it all to Thursday. You can vote first on whether you're going to table it and then do the public hearing. But the zoning procedures law also requires very tight advertising. So if not the whole full council agrees to table it, then you would have violated the advertising and you would be unable to pass.
But the questions I have are specific to Tim, and he's not here. So how are we going to deal with this?
You can discuss those amongst yourselves, amongst each other during this public hearing. I will answer questions if I'm able to do so. And any follow-up you can have Thursday. And alternately, you could save those questions for Thursday night. I'm not saying that you cannot discuss this Thursday night by any means. It's just that you need to have the public hearing tonight. And that's specifically, you need to tell the public what this is about and have a general discussion and invite commentary. That's all that's required for the public hearing. If you would like to reserve those questions for Tim on Thursday night before any vote's taken, that's completely fine.
Okay, well, that would just keep me from reading them twice. So whatever we're going to do tonight, we'll do tonight. But, yeah, we're going to be going line by line Thursday night.
I mean, I support having a discussion tonight and then doing it Thursday. I mean, this has been in front of us in email for 3 or 4 or 5 months, and we've had a lot of opportunity to go back line by line by line with Tim, which we have done in email. And I want to keep it on schedule. I don't want to move it to a Saturday on the 20th when somebody might say that we're trying to do it with outside of what we've already advertised. I'd rather do it the way we told everybody that we would do it. I don't know how everybody else feels.
Right, I mean, we've provided comments at least twice to them, to Tim. It's gone through planning and zoning twice, so, I think we need to talk about it.
Okay, Danny, would you like to give us an introduction?
Yes, so as you all know, Linda's not here. She had a death in the family. She asked that I kind of handle this for her. And Tim, yes, certainly, Y'all can ask any questions and I will try to answer them. If not, Tim will be back Thursday. He's out of the state, so he couldn't be here tonight. So this is a text amendment to the PUV, which is a planned urban village. This started 3 or 4 months ago. As you all know, I met with all y'all individually to talk about what were some of the changes you'd like to see. We've made those changes multiple times. The PUV was a current ordinance that was just commercial and townhomes, apartments. It was based on a floor area ratio. This is based on the number of living units, based on the number of commercial you can have. And also, one of the big things, it reduced the townhomes by 5%, and it added single-family homes, which was not in the old ordinance, or the zoning, I'm sorry. And now this states that you can only have 6 units per acre, like our RM6. The other one did not. I think that was a big selling feature to y'all to try to limit that growth. So this has been to the Planning Commission twice. They voted to approve it. And I'll try to entertain any questions and answer them as I can.
Well, the first time the Planning Commission had it, they tabled it for 30 days. Basically because they had some questions that they needed answered as well. And that's okay, because the more people look at it, the better it's going to be. But that's already happened. And now they have approved it. So I guess we'll be talking about anything that any of the council members would like to discuss tonight.
Yes, all the questions they asked were answered. I believe you all got the copy of that as well,
We
of
did.
the answers that Tim gave. So, yes, please ask your questions.
Well, one of the questions, because I've got a lot for Tim on Thursday, but one of the questions, because you and I talked about this, the detention pond situation. Because with the size acreage we're talking about for this project, there's gonna be probably multiple detention ponds there. And I don't think anybody wants to see an eyesore like we see over at Freddie's. Even the planning commission brought that up. And you said that we could write more specific details or whatever about how those are to look and everything, because I asked for underground retention, and you were told me that you didn't want to put that in here.
Yeah, what I said is also it would, we pride ourselves on being business friendly. But when you start when you make too much requirements on the builder, you can have that, what I told you and Tim, was the take clause. If you make it too restrict, then they can come after you because you're making them where they can't develop that property because it's too stringent. So it is something the council can definitely make underground retention. This is site-specific to approval. It says that, and I believe in the first paragraph or so. So if a developer comes and says, hey, I want a PUV, this is what I want, this is my site plan, he has to show those, or she has to show them. And that is a zoning condition. So that would be the time we could ask, hey, we don't like this retention pond, can you look at putting it here? But as you all know, retention pond goes where the water flows. You can't make it go uphill, but you can put it underground. It's extremely costly to put it underground. It's typically done where there's no land. But these are, I believe, minimum 25 acres. I believe it was 25 acres, no more than 250 acres. So I don't feel it'll be an eyesore. Developer don't want to put it where it's prime real estate. They put it where it has to go because that's where the water flows. So if that's something the city council wishes to put underground utilities or underground retention, you can certainly do that.
Just for info, I talked to Tim
Maybe I don't.
months ago. That was the only spot at Freddie's that could be,
Or underground.
or underground. Nobody particularly likes where it is, but it's where the water flows.
So, Danny, I think maybe for the benefit of the people sitting here and who are watching, the proposed land use mix, which are the percentages, the single-family detached, 45%, townhomes, 15%, commercial, 20%, and open space, 20%. Those percentages you derived from your meeting with all of us individually, is that right?
That is correct.
And I think you met with, like Jay and I think we went back to back on a meeting, and I think Melanie, you had the good percentages on the townhome, but These are what we've all agreed on individually, so we're all in agreement on the percentages, right? Is that, I mean, generally speaking, I'm not trying to hold anybody to the fire today, but that's where these numbers came from.
Yes. I knew this was gonna be a big issue. That's why I
Right.
met with y'all multiple times
right.
on this. Because, Melanie is right, we have one shot to make this right.
That's exactly right.
Now, does it say 2 days from now, if you approve it, you can't change it?
Right.
You're the city council. These are your ordinances. You can change it as you see fit. But we like to do things once and do them right. So that's why we thought it was critical, Tim and I, to meet with y'all to find your wants, your needs, and put them in there so we could address them up front versus coming to y'all and say, hey, this is what we came up with, and then we spend months. Because if we change this, as you all know, then it has to go back to the whole process.
Right.
So we try to make it where it's what you want as elected officials, down to the prohibited businesses. Now, those were in there in the old one. We added them, some that you all wanted to add.
Right.
We maybe added or deleted based on what y'all's approval was. But the big one is the percentage in the change was the 45. And another big change is that we haven't had before was they could look at the property as a whole and say, okay, based on X amount of acres, I can put X amount of living units.
Right,
Now in this, we changed it where you have to remove your infrastructure from that number, which reduces your overall land mass, which gets more conservative, more restrictive amount of homes or businesses you can put. But
well,
the-
and we also did a thing, I think also this came from you, which was a great idea about they had to have 25% of each thing done, which meant that they couldn't build out, which is a great idea, they couldn't build out like all of one thing. They had to get 25% of each before they could move forward. That was yours,
Well,
yeah?
what it was is, I think Danny will correct me on this if I'm wrong, they can apply in groups of 25%, but when they apply for that group of 25%, they're applying to do 25% of their
each.
townhouse, yes.
Right.
But they will not get a certificate of occupancy, and they will not get a permit for anybody to live in any of those living spaces until they have completed all 3, which
Right.
means he has to build his commercial.
It's got to go in steps, like build together.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's not gonna, so nobody can move in and live in there if he didn't build
No,
his
I think it's
commercial.
great.
Right. One of y'all's, I think majority of y'all's was, the last thing we wanted to see was come in, build an apartment complex and
Right.
leave. So in the old one, it was not there. Now it is.
Now it is.
Now, they can come in and permit the whole project. But if you know anything about development, they're not gonna come in, they're gonna come in pieces and sell it, replant it, sell it. But this says you have to do 25% minimum of all 3 unless you all give an exception to this. And then, until they do that, they will not get a certified occupancy where they cannot occupy that building until the other processes are done for the other 2 zonings, unless you all grant that. So I know the last thing y'all want to do is have an apartment complex and no commercial, no single family.
So my understanding, though, is that they won't get their occupancy certificates for the living spaces until they've completed the commercial. Now, the commercial may sit empty, but the structure will be built
That is correct. For that percentage.
for
I
that
believe
25%.
It's for
But now,
every,
like you said, he could come in and take out his permit for all 100% of the whole thing.
That's correct.
And then at that point, he will not get any of his certificates of occupancy until he has built his commercial spaces.
that is correct.
Well, but Danny, you keep saying apartments, like we don't want apartments built, but this doesn't, this has townhomes and lofts above commercials. I just want to be clear that this does not have provisions for apartments, like
Well-
big buildings.
Well, I
of-
think we all know townhouses code
But-
word for apartment.
In our zoning, we
Well-
don't separate.
We don't, I know based on density, but I just want to be clear for the public that what this is and what this isn't.
Yes.
So,
It is written as townhomes and lofts, and we gave them lofts based on 50% of their commercial they can
Correct.
obtain. But it can only be, and this is, I believe, Ms. Long's thing, was only 1 story above the commercial.
Correct.
Because more than 1 becomes
Apartments.
a townhome
Right.
complex. So, yes. I believe that starts on
Page
page
3.
4 about the percentage of the
Yep,
25%.
sorry.
We did add the part about the, getting a occupancy certificate. We added that recently.
Yeah.
That one of the most recent changes that came about, I think, 2 weeks ago. Let me see, what was the other big issue that we changed was you didn't want to see parking in the streets. So we made it where they had to do street parking plus an overflow lot and post signs that say no parking, which, as you know, that's private property, so the city cannot enforce that, but we do require that they put it in their, development.
And the other thing that I requested that is in here is that the townhouses and things that have driveways, that driveway has to be a minimum of 25 feet long, which will accommodate a full-size pickup truck, so
25 feet from the sidewalk to
from
the house.
from the
That's
house
correct.
to the
Yeah.
sidewalk, so they can't, like, their tailgate can't hang over the sidewalk.
Yeah, and for every 100 living units of residential, they have to do minimum 20,000 square foot of commercial. That was something else we added. We added the part in here about land donation. We didn't have that before. If they donate land, they can get a maximum 50% land credit. So if they give us 10 acres, they could get 5 acres credit towards their green space. This also has 20% green space. So as you imagine, if you have a 100-acre tract, that's a lot of green space. I'm trying to think of any other big items.
One of the biggest to me was we reduced the percentage allowed for townhomes.
That is correct, by 5%.
Significant.
And we also added, on all residential structure is they have to do what's called a water table. That's brick, some type of masonry, brick, not stucco, stone, up to the first sill of the window. So that was something we added on all 4 sides.
Is there a reason why we have stucco on here as an option, though, above that? That's just what the
Because it
builder
is a form of
requested?
masonry.
But could we, I just personally don't like stucco. To be honest, I've never had good, I work on homes all day long.
Yes, if y'all want to remove stucco, we could exempt that. Just be stone, brick, or granite.
No, stucco's really a name brand anyways, but, okay.
I'm trying to think what else.
I did see in here, each residential unit must have a bay or balcony.
It has some architectural guidelines in here that they have to adhere to as far as the townhomes.
Would that possibly be a, how would you say, like a non-business friendly way? Because that is a insurance nightmare for everybody involved. Because I know on some of my buildings, we can't do that over a certain footage, or we can't get insurance on something.
Yeah, I would say whatever, well, that may be a Tim question we can ask Thursday, so just, I
We
would
could do
ask
like a
that.
big bay window or something, but
Yeah, we'll have to ask Tim on that one. I'm not sure of it being anything with a, balcony.
then I had one more kind of small one about the trees that would be planted in the 6 foot in width for the landscaped islands. Have to be full length, shade producing variety. 6 feet in that isn't big enough for a shade producing tree. Within 5 to 8 years, that concrete is gonna be busted up. So we might wanna look about not doing a shade producing, because they're already gonna have to be doing awnings and stuff like that anyways. I just don't wanna see busted concrete later on down the road. So I would say doing some kind of, even if it's an ornamental tree that can hold a root ball bigger or up to 6 foot, like a crepe or something. I'm not really big on crepes personally either, but it's a better option than busted concrete.
Okay,
In my opinion.
you can definitely add that as a prohibited, or you can put a tree list in here if you'd like.
A lot of times ordinances will include specific trees, like crepe myrtle. They're very popular in zoning ordinances, but if you don't like those, if you want to include specific varieties of trees, you're welcome to do that.
I just know a lot of shade producing trees are oaks and stuff like that, and they don't hold, the root balls are a lot bigger than 6 by 6. I've seen that in some of the properties that I've managed over the years. and had to cover up with more pine straw because the roots grew out.
And when you're talking about the balconies, is that on line 267,
276.
276, is that what you said?
It's 104. And,
Sorry, I'm
269?
I think the numbers
Right.
changed.
Oh.
And they have to include, what, a minimum of 4 of those following features?
That's what I was going to point out, if that's the section that you're looking at.
Right.
So if they don't want balconies, they don't need them?
That's what I was thinking,
Okay.
if they can do other things.
They probably wouldn't choose that one anyways because of the insurance. I get that.
I mean, it does give them a little bit of wiggle room as far as what they can include out of the 4.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It was 301G, line 301.
Danny, I have a question. Starting on line 40, it's talking about the piece of property, and it says it shall be owned
that's what you're saying.
by or under complete control of the applicant for zoning. The project that this is being done for, I don't think that the owner has bought the property yet, and I believe that they will be seeing if they're gonna buy it based on whether or not they get approved for that. So how are we gonna work that out?
Well, I would imagine that their contract is subject to zoning approval like most buyers do.
So we're gonna, so he's not under complete control though, because he doesn't own it.
He also hasn't asked for a rezoning either.
Okay.
Yeah, because nobody can ask, because we have a moratorium
Right.
on this. So until y'all approve this, the moratorium ends, I believe, in October. But if y'all approve it, say, Thursday, the moratorium will be lifted, and then somebody could ask for a rezone. But until then, nobody can ask for this rezoning because it's in y'all's hands.
And if at the time, if you all pass it and this developer applies for the rezoning, they won't get it if they don't satisfy that complete control requirement.
And then line 49, and it's the whole paragraph there, and it says development in this district requires approval by the mayor and council. And then down on line 52, it says shall require city council approval, but then at 66, you go back without exception of mayor and council. So we're not consistent in our verbiage. Why is it, and Skip doesn't have a vote, so why would it be approval of mayor and council? Shouldn't that just be,
I guess that's in case of a tie. I would be.
but then
there,
it's not consistent verbiage, because then it leaves it out in other lines, and then it's back in there in other places.
Well, yeah, on 66, that's saying without the exception of mayor and council. That's just a standard term that we say mayor and council. But the council is one that sets, unless it's a tie. The mayor can veto as well, and then the city council can vote again. So I would say it needs to say mayor and the council, and the part without the exception, that means they have to do this unless y'all tell them they can do it.
Right, but what I'm saying is then it left it where it says shall require city council approval, then it doesn't say mayor there. I'm just
Yeah,
saying-
we'll just add that. I mean, it could have been just an oversight when he rewrote this.
And in this same paragraph, it says all development shall be substantial conformance, and then it says substantial deviations. What is the definition of substantial? Oh, okay, well, I didn't see it.
No, I agree with you.
Okay, so I mean, what is substantial? I mean, because I can argue that 51% is majority. Is that substantial?
I believe they go by the type of inspections. You have a 20%, 50%, and a 80% completion. So that would be another Tim question we might want to ask him Thursday. What his definition of substantial.
And then line 81, coordinated signage and graphics.
What line, I'm sorry?
81,
Okay.
coordinated signage and graphics. I mean, are we just going to go by our regular sign ordinance? Because a lot of PUVs that I studied, they have a specific sign ordinance specific to their,
Yes, the sign ordinance would
It would
rule
just-
what type of signs if it was a commercial property.
and then permitted uses, you're allowing spa, that would be line 93. You're allowing spas and salons, but yet on line 106, which are prohibited uses, you're prohibiting personal services. Well, is not getting your hair cut and going to a spa a personal service? So we're conflicting.
No, there was, we did address that with Tim, and I forgot, this was one of the planning and zoning's rules or questions. I have to look and see what his answer was to that, but they are different, because it was, I believe it was spas, saloons, and nails, and we took out nails. It's based on the majority type of business they do. I don't believe personal services is the same as spas and saloons. We'll have to ask that question.
Line 95, craft shops, visual and performing, artist studios and galleries with light manufacturing. What is that?
It's like,
With accessory light, yeah, what is that?
I would imagine it's like an art studio that showcased art.
Accessory light manufacturing? So
Yeah.
they're manufacturing art in the art studio? I mean,
Well, the performing artist studios and galleries is one thing, and then the other one is we need to find out.
yeah,
that
what
definition
is with light manufacturing?
Can I jump in real
Sure.
quick on that one? I think we've got a conflict on line 8 and line 17. I'm sorry, line 95 and line 120 on that page. We have visual and performing artist studios are allowed, and then we say dance and gymnastic studios
That
are not
was-
allowed.
That was.
I think we
I was
need
gonna
to-
bring that
Yeah.
up too,
I think we gotta,
because that's
you could
still
argue
technically a performing art.
falls in both.
I don't,
The one thing I will caution is that a lot of these terms are likely, I'm not saying all of them are because I haven't cross-referenced all of them, but that's what I'm doing while y'all are talking. A lot of these may be specifically defined within the zoning ordinance. And different terms mean different things and are defined within the main zoning ordinance. That will apply to all of the terms used in the PUV as well, because the PUV will be a part of the zoning ordinance. And I understand some of it, you're like, what is the difference there? But there is a reason for it.
I would say the dancing gymnastic studios is different than an artist studio.
Yeah, and back on the question about where we talked about the mayor and council and the city council approval, I mean, that's exactly how the current ordinance is written. So, I mean, we didn't go through and change everything. We went in and adapted what, to improve upon it.
Well, I just want it to
So-
be a consistent verbiage throughout an entire document, because as Robin can probably tell us, being an attorney, anybody's gonna look for one thing in here to drive a wedge in and prove their point, and since I'm sitting here looking at it and picking up errors and things, I'm just noticing that some of the verbiage isn't consistent throughout the document. And then like line 122, 123, 124, and 125, I think Tim forgot to edit out where it says planning commission
He
beside
did,
those.
yep.
Line 132, it says,
We left them so y'all can see what they added.
Right, but I know, but I thought
once
this was- okay.
Right, if y'all approve this,
Gotcha.
that's like, yeah,
Gotcha.
I'm sure there's some probably other grammar errors in there that we would need to fix.
line 132, it says non-residential uses, commercial uses should constitute, but then on 139, it says, on the townhome specs, it says they will constitute. Again, it's just a not consistent verbiage. Up there on 132, saying that it should, that sounds like I have an option. So should it not also say will?
Are you at what?
Hold on, you're
132?
Should constitute.
no more than.
No more.
I know, but down here, it says townhomes on line 139, it says they will constitute no more.
You can certainly change the verbiage.
I just want to stay
What line was
consistent in
that?
our verbiage. Line 132 and 139, you use different verbiage to say the same thing, then I want to stay consistent.
I think we was making it bold for the developer to say,
Because should, I mean, you can tell me I should do something all day long, that gives me an option, because I should, but that doesn't mean I have to.
Well, should constitute no more. I mean, in the zoning ordinance, this is a requirement that can be enforced.
so we need to change the should to will.
Line 155, it says that is if a single commercial building space totals 50,000 square feet, a maximum of 25,000 square feet. I would just like to see us, that's not even because if you go over to line 166, the maximum building footprint is only 25,000 square feet. I just don't want us to see us use an example that's not even feasible to start with.
think that's a total square footage in the building.
Well, that's what it's saying. Over here, it's saying that the maximum building footprint is 25,000
Right,
square
that means
feet.
the bottom floor can't be more than 25,000 square feet, but if it was multiple floors, it could be more, it could be 50,000. Because I asked him that question.
Okay, because it
The
says a
footprint-
single,
The
okay.
footprint is
Okay.
25,000, no, I mean, yeah.
Well, you see what I'm saying, how confusing this could be, and I mean, we're just trying to keep us from getting sued, because we seem to be paranoid about that. Can somebody describe, define on line 175, what is pedestrian scaled open spaces? Line 175, what is a pedestrian scaled open space?
I have to see what that is. We'll find you an answer Thursday.
Okay. And then a modified grid pattern, I'm sure I know what that is, it's just where all of our streets are blocked off, so to speak. Line 178, buildings shall be placed perpendicular and parallel to streets. I don't know that that's possible. Should that mean or?
Rather than at an angle, one or the other.
That's what I'm saying, that's what it says. So, I mean, are you
Right.
just saying that it can't be diagonal?
Yes.
Okay.
Go back-
go
Go
ahead.
back to your other question. That's what Tim said in the email, and I think everybody got it. Maximum building footprint, 25,000 square feet. Does that, this was my question, does that mean the ground floor, the actual footprint on the ground, or 25,000 square feet in total for all the floors on the building? That's a maximum footprint on the ground of the building.
Okay. And Brandon, going to what you were talking about on the landscaping, about the trees being, one thing that maybe I think we might want to add in is I don't want to see bushes that get big, because I was just at the Dick's Sporting Goods parking lot the other day, and they've
Yeah.
used bushes in their landscaping, and now they've grown so big around, they're out into the road, and you have to actually pull out into the traffic to be able to see, so I don't want to
Yeah.
see any kind of,
I recommend dwarf bushes.
Yeah.
They don't get bigger than a certain size. That's what I typically
so
put
I
in.
don't know where that, since you are a landscape guy, maybe you want to have something for Thursday,
Yeah, crepes or dwarf bushes, those would be probably the two best.
Okay, I got the dwarf bush.
Have we met the requirement, Robin? Have we done enough discussion?
The requirement actually is, in addition, that you open it up for
But our
anyone.
part's done, no, yes.
Do y'all have any other questions?
Yeah.
Okay, seeing no other questions from the council, is there anyone in attendance here that would like to speak concerning this possible project? Hey, Paul, come on up.
Yeah, thank you, Paul Smith speaking. I know there's only so much you can share with us, but can you share a little bit more? I mean, we're talking shadows, and where is it going to be? Can we share that?
Actually, I can address that. This is the consideration of an amendment to the zoning.
Okay, just the amendment, sorry, but not the potential development.
That I don't know the answer to, and you
Okay.
all can
Well,
address
that's the
that.
only-
That's the, well, just, I'm not trying to cut you off or anybody else from answering that. I just want to make sure everybody understands that this amendment is to the zoning ordinance. There has been no application for rezoning to this modified or amended PUV. No one has been approved for it. So I just want to make sure everyone is very clear
Okay.
about that. And then-
We have heard the term, one of the largest developments in the history of Loganville. There's got to be some reason for us saying that. I mean, is someone asking? Is someone inquiring? of the city? They are?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, so we have an official person looking at developing probably a big tract of land someplace that could be this or this or that. And we're trying to put it together so that everybody wins. Is that basically what this is?
Y'all want me to answer?
One of the problems that we
I mean-
have,
I mean, the PUD as it stood before had a lot of holes, and it
Right.
wasn't what the council wanted. So the council has done a lot of work with the city manager and Robin and planning and zoning. Sorry. The council has done a
Yeah.
lot of work with everybody, I mean, all the different pieces
Well, that
to
is
try to
good.
make
I'm
it
not
better.
disputing the fact. I would
Right.
just like to know, is this something that is more than just a possibility? Is it something, if the developer gets what he or she wants, that this could go forward, provided they like the amendments we've made to the restrictions? Is this something like, okay, we're ready to go? Is it at that point?
I don't know that anybody here knows that, Paul.
I don't
Okay.
know, I can't answer that, I don't.
They
If,
could,
uh,
they could look at this and just say, nope, I'm out. You know?
I'm sorry?
They could just look at this with all the, and just say, no.
But at least we have someone that's actively
They're interested.
pursuing and interested in it.
Yes.
And it might be a good thing,
Yeah.
possibly.
I
Okay.
will say briefly that whatever that is out there, because I don't know all those details, none of that dictates or dictated the terms of this.
Well, I understand that. I just, going from the standpoint of, is there really someone actively pursuing this? And there is, and that's fine. But I wanted to know that we're not just spinning, that we are actually responding to someone's inquiry about developing this property. And yes, it is in the city limits, right? Okay, thank you. That's it.
You bring the microphone, Dee? We'll bring the microphone.
You know, I'm real protective of Loganville. Everybody knows that because I love it. And I'm not here to complain or gripe. I'm just here because I want to say something. And Robin knows I always have to say something. But I've been hearing little bits and pieces about all this. But I didn't actually hear property-wise or what was going to be there or anything. But this afternoon, Harold and I were having coffee and my phone rang, and it was a really good friend of mine that's been in Loganville longer than me. And she said, Janice, why hadn't you told me that we're fixing to have a great big development in Loganville? I said, we are. You tell me. She said, I heard that there's 250 acres that are going to be developed, and it's already being discussed. And it wasn't anybody up here, so I want you to know, I'm not talking about the mayor or anybody on the council. This lady is a very good friend of mine. Like I say, she's been here a long time, and y'all all know her, but I'm not going to call any names. She said, well, she even told me the person that owned the property. She told me the name of the property. She told me, I said, are you sure? I can't believe this. She said, yes, ma'am, I am. I said, she said, are y'all going to the council meeting tonight? And I said, yes. She said, well, you let me hear what went on. I said, well, I definitely will. I said, but I cannot believe that the city of Loganville would not make the people of Loganville be aware of anything after what we went through before. I just believe that the taxpayers need to know. Y'all can look at me. You can make an ugly face. I don't care. I live here, and I've been paying taxes here over 60 years. Harold's been paying them longer than me. And I just want you to know that we as taxpayers want to be involved. And I think you know that. It's very few meetings that I miss. There's very few things in Loganville that I'm not very involved in. And I love this town. And most of y'all I love. I have a hard time with some of you, I'll be honest. But I'm an honest person, and I'll do everything I can to help everybody. I don't reach out to one person. or 2 or 3 people. I worked with these people right here. I've loved them all. Mr. Paul, I've worked with him. This lady behind me. You know, you may not like everybody. I don't like everybody. I pray to God to help me like everybody. But, you know, I just think we need to work together. And I think if you let the people that voted for you know kind of what's going on in our town, I think they'll feel better. And I'm just going to give you one example. I'm going to brag on this man sitting in front of me. I read on Facebook about a car that drove up in front of the library. You remember that? And everybody was trying to say it was the police's fault. The police. And Dick wrote an article, and he put on there exactly what happened. And after he explained what had happened that day, all the people came back thanking him for responding. And that's all I think that people want. They want to be a part of the town that they live in. And I pray every day for that. There's several things that I cry about. Because I want to tell you, there's people up here. Christy Ash was there when I was on the council. I've known all these people for so long, and I love them. But, you know, I still think that's the biggest mistake that's made in Loganville is the people not being informed. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Well, there's no secret. I've told every single council member and the mayor what project this is. There is no hiding it, but no one has applied. This individual may not apply for this. But you are all free to say. I told y'all from day one this is going to be a big project. And I knew, but here's another thing I told them. We'll get the heat for this, or they will, I will. But I've said this and I'll say it again. If somebody's got a property, it's their right to develop how they see fit, as long as they follow our zoning. This is one of them where they may follow. So you all can say it. There's no secret. I get tired of saying that we're hiding stuff. We're not. Anybody wants to know anything, you call 466-1165 and ask for Danny Roberts. I will tell you what I know, unless it's an executive session.
Well, and Ms. Janice, I giggled when you said you like some of us, because I know you and I have we've talked, and sometimes we agree, about what happened in the past. This piece of property is not city property. It doesn't involve the city. We have done what we do as a city with zoning, which is the only thing we have to do with. I could understand if someone was upset if we were going to develop downtown and didn't do anything, especially since what happened 2 years ago. But this has nothing to do, ownership or anything, with the city. The only part that we have is zoning. And that's been advertised per legal methods. We've done our homework. I mean, we've been working on this for months. But, I mean, to say that, I mean, Paul said that we're working in the shadows. I don't think we're working in the shadows. We've done what we can do as city council to deal with zoning, and that is all. I don't know the person that's going to buy a piece of property. I don't know if it's going to go through. I've been asked to do my job was to look at the zoning, and that's what we've all done. But I don't think it would be an appropriate thing. When Chief Lowry answered the thing about what happened at the library, that had to do with our citizens and our police department, which was absolute city business that he had firsthand knowledge of. The purchase of a piece of property that is not city-owned is not my responsibility. So I hear what you're saying, but that's where I'm coming from, just to be straight with you, as I always am. So.
Yes, Joanne?
So, okay, there's a guy or a gal who has expressed interest in the property. They've not come back to say that they're buying the property, is that correct?
They've not
Do I
filed
have
any
it?
applications yet.
Right, they've not filed applications. So, like, what's next? Is everything with this PUV communicated to this interested party? And then they say what they're gonna do? Or do we just sit and wait and see if they come back? What's the next step?
Well, we'll wait to see if they come back. That's their
We're not going to
job.
reach out to them.
That's their
Right.
job.
If this property owner wants this zoning, they have to go through the process, but they cannot ask for this zoning until its moratorium's lifted or they adopted the new PUV.
Well, Joanne,
That's on them.
I'll tell you that at the planning and zoning meeting, I watched it online, the attorney for this piece of property was at both of those meetings.
Okay, that was like my next
So it does sound
question,
like
is
it's a
he-
little,
He's buzzing around.
he's buzzing around. He ain't sitting idly by. He's been to both, you're on there. He was at your meetings, correct? Yes.
And that was what I was gonna say as well, is whoever this person is, again, I have no idea, I mean, all of this is in the public, so they can see it, talk about it, comment on it, you know, kind of whatever involvement they want to have, just like any other member of the public is, you know, I'm sure they do know about it.
Right, yeah, and I mean, I'm not suggesting, I don't even think Paul was suggesting secrecy per se, I think it's just, whatever, it's kind of come to light, it's hearing all of these specifics, so it kind of comes as a,
I would think it'd be fair, Janice included, that you would like to know the facts, right?
yeah, just
Well,
fill
we
in
don't
some
know
of
the
the gaps.
facts yet.
Well, we kind of know the facts, it sounds
No,
like.
we don't.
Well, we got a
We
guy
don't know
who's
if it's
interested,
gonna
we got
happen.
the attorney coming around,
We
we're
don't know
expecting
if it's
somebody's
gonna
gonna
happen.
come back.
We don't know who's involved. I don't.
Wouldn't you think, though, if the attorney was at planning and zoning, that it's probably just a matter of time before he comes back?
Don't know.
I'm just saying, it kind of stands to reason. Thank you. Thank you.
I
Thank you.
mean, it may be that the property owner and the person looking to develop a piece of property has a disagreement and goes away for it long before it gets here.
Right, it may be, but like Ann said,
Who's
it's
to
reasonable
say?
to assume,
Now,
so.
on Dick Lowry's comments, I think that was very appropriate, very well done, Dick, and that was the facts. And we just don't know the facts. Now, we could throw something out there we think might happen, but then you get into the rumor mill. So
Well-
I don't know the answers, honestly.
I think it's a little more than that, but I think we've got some answers.
I mean, it's nothing about wanting to hide things until the time is appropriate and we know it's a fact that we announce it. And even if it got to that point, it's conceivable that it could still go down the drain, as many projects have with the building costs going up as they are now.
Okay, well, hopefully you understand why people are concerned, like somebody mentioned up here, or maybe it was Ms. Janice, we went through the Connolly thing, so there is a bit of a lack of trust that we have built back from. So now this is kind of like, it seems like the next phase, this is the next big thing that we're hearing about. So yeah, people are gonna be a little bit on edge, and hopefully you can understand that. And we have a right to that. And you know, you guys have all been working together, and you know about the emails and everything else. We haven't seen all of that.
I
So when we
understand.
take to the podium and we ask questions, we're just trying to get in the loop, and we're entitled to that.
Well, you're entitled to the facts when we know them, and we will do that.
We're also entitled to stand up here and ask questions and express concern and not be admonished for it.
And you're not.
There's a little bit of attitude,
We're
but that's
being
neither here nor
honest.
there.
You mean if I tell you something that I believe in, it's an attitude. If you tell me something you believe in, it's not an attitude, it's a fact. I don't agree with that.
I'm not gonna go down this road of getting all personal, but,
Well,
you
me
know.
either.
Okay.
Appreciate your thoughts.
Hey, Christie, with this new system of the agenda, this PUV document is up there as part of it. So if you go to the city website,
Right.
you can read what we're looking at.
Oh, good,
It's like
okay.
9 pages, so I get what you're
How
saying.
many? I'm sorry.
It's like 9 pages.
Oh, okay.
But if
That's
you
easy.
go to look at tonight's packet, huh? Yeah, sure.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, I mean, but if anybody wants to go look at the packet and actually read what line numbers we're talking about, it's in the packet up online.
That is good, that is helpful, we
Okay,
appreciate that.
Robin, would you do me a favor? Would you share some things about privacy of information that's involved in some of these situations as well? Does that make sense?
In what context?
Well, I don't know, in this particular case, for example, what the property owner and what a potential builder may have said, and one of them may have said, well, if he gets out in the community, it's off. I don't know. It just seems like a lot of them, and I know Riverdan is on everybody's mind. They had deals where they were buying properties, but that's already been done in this case. But I don't know to what degree that affects it.
Okay.
So, yes, I mean, my job here is to meet with people that come up here and say, hey, Danny, we want to put this here. Do you think I can get the zoning from the council? And I'll tell them this. I have no idea. All I can tell you is Go through the process, you got a 50-50 shot at the council saying yes or no. They're gonna say it one way or the other. But there's more than one landowner that would like to see this changed. I mean, I've have a few of them that have called me and expressed concern. Hey, we have land, we want to sell it, what can we do with this? Well, if it changes, it's online, you can see what the intent of the zoning is. If it passes, now the council may change it. This is just a working document for them. There is no, and has never been any secrecy from the city, as long as I've been city manager. I can't attest, but I'm pretty sure I know Bill Jones, and he didn't keep secrets either. But I can attest that no one on this council, because if they did, I wouldn't work for somebody I couldn't trust. And I can speak that 100% certainty. But people do have right to keep their land to themselves and not let the public know. And I tell them everything. When somebody comes, I said, look, if you don't want nobody to know, do not leave me any documents, because if you leave a document, it is subject to open record. And if I have it, I will give it, guaranteed, because that's what the state law says. But then what I tell the city council is this. When people complain about land being developed, they forget that your land that you live in a subdivision was once raw land. But you're in there now. I cannot put a gate around City of Loganville and say, we're full, no more people coming in. If an individual has land and they want to develop it, they have no right to deny that. Period. They have to conform to our zoning. That's what this is. If the city council wants this zoning to go forth, they will approve it. If they don't, it'll be the current zoning that we have. But if you look at this document versus the old PUV, this has protected the y'all's concerns as the public, as we're concerned about growth, we're concerned about density. We spell that in this. The other one did not have a density. They could have built as many townhomes as they built commercial. They should be commended for putting this document together, because it was done with every one of those input. Because I knew what this was going to do when it came, if it comes before the city council. So there is no secrecy, and it just makes me so irritated when I hear the public say, oh, Loganville's hiding stuff again. We have never hid stuff, ever. Just because you didn't know something doesn't mean we're hiding it. My question is, did you ask? Because if you ask me, I'm going to tell you the truth. You may not like it, but I'm going to tell you the truth. Point blank, period. Always have, always will. So, yes, there is a landowner looking for this. He's trying to get the most bang for his buck. But it's his right. You know, but how do you get the most bang for your buck? You go dense. You know, so you get townhomes, you get single-family homes. That was one of the big things we changed in this, was single-family homes. The other one didn't have it. But, you know, nobody complains too much about single-family homes. But what do most people complain about? Apartments. We heard that. We changed it by 5%. This land is not 250 acres. The land that I have talked to the developer is 200 acres, 202 to be exact. So, you know, like the land donation, that was a big one. That's something we added. We forget all the pluses that we could get out of this, because I promise you, I'm working for the city, not for a developer. They're working for the citizens, not a developer. But there is an even balance that we have to maintain. So people forget that. People just want to attack, and I get tired of it. So,
I have a question.
yes.
So will we have community feedback on Thursday as well, as part of the hearing, or no? No?
It's up to y'all whether there'll be community feedback.
Generally, no. Well, here would be my request. Ms. Janice, Joanne, Paul, Ms. Kathy, anybody who's watching, if you go look at this document and there is something that you see that worries you, email somebody. Like, now is the time. Let's get past the whole,
Or if there's something we missed.
Or if there's something we missed. I mean, you know, we've been through this for weeks looking at it. I mean, lots of great feedback. We've all made adjustments, but don't wait till Thursday. Like, if you see something, shoot an email to somebody and let us look at it. Let's talk about it, because now is the time we can do something. Let's get past the idea that we're not working together. Let's work together and make it better for everybody.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Well, this will be up back to the public, because Tim will be here to answer the questions that we can answer tonight. We're still gonna talk about it.
I know, but I mean, like, if we could get ahead of it, I mean, you know, there's a lot of lines here. There's 350 lines. If we can get ahead of it, I think that'll be better.
Trust me. It's a lot of them.
And what we don't want to do is leave it the way it is. I mean, we want to make this improvement. That's the goal.
Like Danny said, we want to do it right the first time.
Yeah, and to those 2 points, you can find the current PUV zoning is in Unicode, which is, I believe, linked on the city's website. I would encourage you to compare what you have right now in the city and what the council has come up with, because to what Danny was saying, there is interest in a PUV. And I think what y'all have done is put the moratorium in place, like, whoa, we need to look at the PUV before anyone comes and asks for it, because quite frankly, there hasn't been a request for it in recent years. And so once that started coming, I mean, it was right that y'all take a look at it and make sure, like Danny said, that it complies with what you all want to do as a city as far as growth. So I'd encourage you to look at Municode and compare the differences that y'all have made.
I'll put a link out too with the Municode. I'll put the original one and then I'll put a link out to this one. Okay.
But at the end, in most every case, if this should happen, a lot of pieces have got to fall into place. And who knows? I would think if this particular builder accepts these PUVs versus what he first originally thought, or she, he's damn flexible, I'll tell you that, because we changed the heck out of it.
I don't doubt that.
So we'll see. Just don't know.
Well, yeah, right. I mean, you all changed it, but what you don't know is I went to them first and said, what do you want? What do you not want? Well, let's talk about that first. And that was 3 or 4 days of meeting with 7 of them individually to go over it. The notion that the city council doesn't listen to the citizens and doesn't concern about growth, we eliminated the RM8, which is the most dense zoning that we had at the time. We have RM6 now. This matches that. Before this, it was a FAR system. So if you want to build a lot of commercial, you could get a lot of townhomes. But we changed it here. We got rid of the overlay district for R22. So this zoning here is the most dense zoning that we have in the entire city. When people sell their land, they want the best bang for their buck, right? If you had a piece of property, if you had 200 acres, are you going to sell it for farmland or are you going to sell it for dense zoning, right? And if they stop it, that is considered taken property because you denied that landowner the right to get the best use for his land. That is illegal. You wouldn't like it? I know I wouldn't like it if I had to. I wish I had 200 acres. But what I tell all of them, it's not your job to stop growth. That is the landowner and the developer. All you can do is say, hey, if you're going to do it, these are our rules to follow. So, and let me answer this question because I see this. You cannot put a moratorium in place indefinitely. You have to have a specific reason with a specific timeline. Because I see it all the time. Oh, the city needs to quit growing. We need to put a moratorium citywide. You cannot legally do that. You have to have a reason. No sewer capacity. That would be a reason. We're changing the zoning. That's a reason. But as you know, we put a date on it. 6 months, 180 days. We have went as far as a year for the sewer. But we can't spend $15 million on a sewer and say, oh, no more growth. Then why did I just spend $15 million? So we've got to stop fighting. And I'm not saying, we're here for y'all.
I don't feel like we're fighting. I feel like this kind of got off to a bad start because of, something that Paul, a word that he used, that is Janice's expected, she got a phone call. But that's not like fighting. That's not the end of the world. So, you're saying things now and I'm like, oh, okay, like, we learned.
Right.
But, sometimes just wagging with
Yeah.
You know, just someone too.
Right. And that's the best way. You get a question, call me. I've never told nobody I'm not gonna talk to you. Right, so,
And I do too.
yeah.
I feel like you're my son, and I'm gonna say what I think to you. If I don't like it, I'll tell you immediately.
You know, I've been around a long time, and
I didn't hear this till today, or I would have already talked to you before that. But at 4
Wait a
o'clock
second.
this afternoon, that's when Harold and I heard all this.
and Janice and Dick and Natalie, Christy, Robin, you sound like Bill Jones sometimes over here, and it gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
When you get fired up, it's like, holy cow, Bill Jones.
Do you know, I was just thinking that, and I tell Danny this all the time. I remember the first time when you were fire chief and the first time you addressed the council, I was
Yep.
so nervous on your behalf. And here you are just taking the microphone and just going off.
Right. Well, you know, it's
Exactly. Oh, right.
very passionate about the city. When people talk about the leadership, and they might be talking about them, but you're really talking about me and my staff. And do we make mistakes? Absolutely. But there ain't but one man that was perfect, and he's not on earth no more. So, you know, we all make mistakes, but instead of crucifying us, pick up the phone and say, hey, tell me why you did that. Or tell them, ask them. But until we stop doing this, well, I tell the council the other day, until y'all stop doing this, nothing's going to change. It's not.
And one of the biggest things we have in our city, every city I'm sure, is rumors never die. There's still a rumor that we're going to build a Costco at Victory Baptist Church, and that started 20 years ago. They just never die. So we'd prefer not to have rumors out there. Now, you do what now? Well, I understand, but to think a company like that's going to come to a town our size is a stretch. Oh, please don't. We don't have another 20 years.
And also remember this, why I'm saying this, because this has got to do with zoning. The comments about the city only cares about oil changes, car washes, and chicken places, we do not dictate what type of business comes. If it's commercial highway, if it meets that criteria, they come without even asking them. We do not dictate what restaurants come. They don't ask us. They say, hey, what's your zoning? It's commercial highway? Okay. They build whatever. The you all that support it dictates what comes, not the city. No shape, form, or fashion.
And it's basically the people that's willing to spend whatever amount of money they have to spend to come to Loganville. And God knows, we've talked to a lot of steakhouses and a lot of fish places. They're not ready yet, but they will be. It'll happen. I think when we was talking about those 3 new companies across from Walmart, the builder promised that he would do his best to get a steakhouse in there, if you remember that night. And I guess Freddy's called themselves a steakhouse, I guess. But
They showed the money.
it's just difficult. Thanks for everybody's questions, and we will open it up again on Thursday night, since we've had so much discussion tonight. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This meeting is now closed. Thank you.